Hello and welcome back to Nelson Oliver Cards. My name is Nelson and today we're doing one of my favorite videos I do all year where we take a look back at 2024 or at the year and all the cards that we got for Marvel Champions and talk about the favorite cards that came out. So we're going to be going out and going through different allies or heroes, encounters, different aspect cards, and we're going to dive through and take a look at each one of these categories and find the best one that came out in 2024. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As we're going through this video, I'm going to actually probably pin a comment to the top of the video where I have the list of all the categories that I go through. And if you want to, I invite you to reply or to comment on the video to tell me what your favorite things were in 2024 for Marvel Champions, or heck, just whatever happened. I'd be happy to hear that too. Excellent, so let's dive in. And just to kind of level set everyone where we are at, what products actually came out this year, because I feel like I just did this video. And so I had to go back and look at the first product that we got in 2024 was the Age of Apocalypse box, the Capstone Mutant Trilogy box designed by Caleb. And we ended with the last hero that came out is Magneto. And so it's actually a little bit slower of a release year for our beloved game. We have been told that that is not going to be the norm going forward. And so we're looking at that box and the 4 heroes that came after it to kind of fill the video. Let's start out and let's talk about the best encounter of this year. So we have 5 to choose from because we got 1 box and no scenario pack. And the best encounter is going to be, for me, Apocalypse 1. So Apocalypse 1 is the 3rd scenario in the Age of Apocalypse box, and it feels, and I've described this like this before, but it feels very much like a upgraded or a souped up version of Hela, which is my favorite encounter in the entire game. You got also a little bit of the Magneto villain. I have to specify now because now we have a hero. The Magneto villain DNA in there, because you're kind of progressing through these side schemes where they're going to be guarded by prelate minions or prelate minions. I never really know which is the correct way to say it. And you're going to be going through these tiers, and Apocalypse cannot be defeated until you defeat all 3 tiers of that side scheme. In order to do that, you can't remove threats until you take out the minion. And because those minions are shuffled, it comes from like a mod set. Because those minions are shuffled, it's going to require you to have some pretty tactical play. And then how do I progress through these side schemes? Because they're going to be adding acceleration tokens as you progress through, but you have to progress through, because if you don't, then you're going to lose the game because you're going to threat out. And instead of defeating Apocalypse and pushing him to his next stage and then defeating him again, instead, whenever he threats out, he upgrades into the next stage. If you're playing on Expert, he starts in stage 3, he goes to stage 4, and it can be pretty mean. But I just really like how they were able to take like Hela, the mechanics there, and the Magneto, kind of marry the two and create a really fun encounter set with Apocalypse 1. I say Apocalypse 1 because there's Apocalypse 2 at the end of the box, but awesome scenario design. I very much loved how they pulled that off, and so yeah, that's gonna be my #1 encounter for 2024. The best mod set also comes from that box, and we did get mod sets in the back of a lot of these hero packs, if not all. Actually, we may have gotten mod sets in all of them. But anyways, the best mod sets, I am going to cheat a little bit here, and I'm going to choose 3, but then I will narrow it down to 1. But this comes from the Dark Beast scenario, which is the scenario that follows up Apocalypse 1 in the box. These are going to be the environment settings, the Savage Land, Genosha, and Blue Moon modular sets. So the way that Dark Beast works, and the reason I like the mod set so much, is because they have a setting environment that is going to dictate or kind of like have a special rule that the rest of the mod set is going to be working with. But also Dark Beast interacts with the mod set. They are required in the Dark Beast set, but you can take these mod sets and put them into any different villain, which I guess like the name mod set, right? Like that's what you do. But it can create some really interesting like kind of new ways to play some of these older villains, because now you're playing in the Savage Land or you're playing on Blue Moon, and these special triggers that you have in those on those environments can like just really expand on a lot of older villains as well. But I did really like how Dark Beast interacted directly with them. Out of the three, I think my favorite is probably Savage Land. It's mainly because dinosaurs are really cool, and so you get to fight a lot of dinosaurs. And so I've seen people kind of put together some encounter sets or build out the encounter sets with like the temporal and Savage Lands, and so it feels like you're like taking on like these giant dinosaurs and stuff. And so I think that the mod sets in the wave were pretty good. I really liked these. I thought that these were really good. But the mod sets that we got this year, I think that outside of these, there are a couple that kind of are pretty good, but I think they're all very average. If that makes sense. Like I don't think that there are really any that I'm like I don't really ever. Oh no, Sauron. I hate Sauron. Never mind. Scratch that. Hate Sauron. But other than that, I think the mod sets that we got this year are pretty good. They're very average. They can pretty much go into any scenario, and it's nice to have those options. But I don't know if any really stood out to me. But let me know if any changed, or if you disagree and any stood out to you. But let's dive in and talk about some of the new cards for the players that we got. The new allies. Now, we got so many great allies this year. You got the basic Gambit, which is way more fun than I thought he was going to be. Rogue from Protection has been a lot of fun. We got her in the Nightcrawler pack. Also from the Nightcrawler pack, Day Tripper, I think, is just a phenomenal ally. That's going to be Nightcrawler's actual hero-specific ally. Day Tripper is really good. But we do have to go back to the MVP of the stream this year. Coming from Iceman's pack, that's going to be Beak. Beak is so freaking good. It's a 2-cost X-Men ally, 1/1/2 stat line, but whenever Beak enters play, you get to remove threat from a scheme equal to the number of X-Men allies you control. So minimum, you're removing 1 because Beak is an X-Men ally you control. Now, you have all of the X-Men allies that you can now choose from to just soup Beak up. If you have Utopia, you're running at 4 slots. If you are going with the X-Men Tribal, if you have Triskelion, if you like, you can get Beak to come in and just remove 6 threat from a scheme for a 2-cost ally. If you have Utopia on the table, then you get to ready another X-Men character. I like the theming of Beak as well. Like, I've never heard of this X-Men character, and so to have a card that comes in with such high impact to the game, being Beak is just fun. Next up, we're going to be talking about the new Archetype that I think is the most fun, and this time we're going back to the Nightcrawler pack, and that's going to be the change of Fortune Archetype. So this is a 1-cost upgrade that goes onto a hero you control, and whenever you defeat I almost said villain, it's an enemy during the villain stage, you can exhaust it and draw 2 cards. This just makes my brain happy. Trying to figure out how to combo this, how to trigger this, just led to so many old hero new tricks. It's a playstyle that I very much enjoy, trying to kind of like take over the villain's turn and deal with all of the damage and everything that I can do on the villain's turn. If you've watched the channel before, you know I love Protection. And so being able to combo this with cards like First Hit, Repost came in Nightcrawler's pack, just there's a lot of synergy that was kind of working around dealing damage during the villain phase, and now we got a way that we can draw cards for doing it. It is my favorite. I don't think it's that strong in true solo. I think it can be really good in multiplayer, but in true solo, it can be a little tough to trigger. There's a lot of setup that does take that is required to actually pull this off successfully, especially if you're going to be trying to get minions to use this to take them out, because that is going to be the easiest target. That being said, it's so much fun. I love running this with Gambit, who can charge up his like first hits and then use them to take out minions. So plus he has his staff, which is just like ping damage as an interrupt. And so there's a lot of ways that Gambit can dish out damage during the villain phase to trigger his Change of Fortune. And I do have a video with a deck build and all of that for that deck specifically, just because I enjoyed it so much. But when I was going through, and I kind of like, I have a list of, you know, the different categories that are going to make it into the the end of the year video. I knew without a doubt that this was going to be my favorite new archetype. Let's talk about our aspects now, because we're going to be talking about my favorite card from every single aspect that we got this year. We're going to start out with aggression. I'm going to go with Gold Balls. This is an aggression ally that is just incredibly strong, right? Like, so Gold Balls is really, really good. It's a 3 attack, 1/1/3, I think. But whenever you attack with Gold Balls, you can discard up to 3 cards from your deck, and the attack deals 1 damage extra for every card you discard. So it's a 4 attack, which is insane. It's insane for a 3 cost ally that you can throw a attack training, so you get +1 attack, but more importantly, you're getting 2 extra health, 2 more activations out of Gold Balls to discard that. It's just such incredible value. Plus, I very much enjoy the digging deep White Fox, discarding and getting value for cards that you discard from your deck. I like that type of strategy, and so having Gold Balls, being able to discard cards, and then if you can hit a digging deep, you get to add it to your hand. White Fox goes onto the table. That's very, very satisfying to me. And so Gold Balls from the Iceman Hero Pack is my favorite aggression card. Let's talk about Justice. And let's talk about Justice. Because there was honestly not a ton of love for Justice this year. The Justice hero that we got this year was Jubilee. And Jubilee has a lot of very niche cards that come with her kit. And I'm actually going to choose a Justice card that did not come from Jubilee as the card of the year, and that's going to be Gunboat Diplomacy from Nightcrawler. This is one of our new Alliance cards. It's a 1-cost Alliance card, and before I tell you what I need, what it actually does, I do have a plan to do a 2-handed game with this at some point. It is a card that I have tried solo a couple times, and is, I think, just way better of a card in multiplayer, but I do want to do a 2-handed game, and as of the recording of this video, I have not yet done that. I may have done it after the posting of this video, but we'll see. But anyways, 1-cost Alliance events where you exhaust an X-Men and an X-Force character, which makes it a lot easier with the newest card, one of the newest cards we got, which is Children of the Atom, which kind of makes them all, you know, X-Men are now X-Force and vice versa. So that's pretty cool. But you exhaust those 2, you combine the thwart of the 2 characters that you exhaust, and then you deal that much damage among enemies in play and remove that much threat from schemes in play. Insane value. So good to be able to assign that damage in kind of a step function format, or in a discrete format. So it's not like if I have 1 threat on a side scheme and 2 threat on the main, if I'm removing 3, then I can do 1 and 2 from both schemes. I don't have to hit or over thwart both of the schemes, which can be really strong, especially in those lower player count games. But also then you get the damage, and so you can start spreading that damage out. You can hit different like minions, or you can hit the villain, and it's just like it's such a flexible card. And now I'm just like getting hype, and I really want to play a multi or 2-handed game now with this. So we may see that video sooner rather than later. But Gunboat Diplomacy is just such a fun card, and that's kind of what this list is fun cards, but it's also an incredibly powerful card. Next up, let's talk about Leadership. Leadership got a lot of cards this year, actually. We got a couple of heroes. We got Magneto as well as Bishop that came with the Leadership precon, so we were able to get a pretty decent number of new cards, new archetypes as well, and the card that I'm going to choose is an archetype in and of itself that is Sidekick. So this came to us in the actual Age of Apocalypse box. It's part of Bishop's precon. Basically, what you do is you attach it to your hero-specific ally. So think in Spider-Woman, Captain Marvel is her hero-specific, or in Spider-Man, if you're familiar with the core set, Black Cat is the signature ally in the kit. Attach Sidekick automatically gives you +2 hit points, and you get the ability to heal 2 whenever you make a basic recovery. So on its own, it's not that great, and so it's kind of maybe the choice is actually the next card I'm going to be talking about, but it felt weird talking about side by side without talking about Psychic first, and so I felt like I chose Psychic because side by side existed, and so maybe I'm cheating again, but I kind of do make the rules. But anyways, the real cool thing is all the synergy that comes with having a sidekick. Not only are you getting multiple activations out of them with the additional hit points and being able to heal them very easily. So if you have like Captain Marvel on the table, now you're drawing cards every single round. You get cards like Side by Side, which is a 2-cost event where you ready your sidekick and your hero. Then you get to choose to either heal 1 damage from each of them, or they both get +1 to their thwart and attack until the end of the phase. So now if you have a Captain Marvel on the table, you drew a card when she basically activate, you get to ready, heal, or ready, get +1, so now she's a 3/3, and you get to activate her again and draw another card. And there's just so many cool synergies, because every single hero-specific ally or hero signature ally feels like they try to design those to synergize with the kit. And so if you're able to get these allies that synergize well with your hero and get multiple activations and kind of like break them a little bit, it's really fun. Drax with Mantis is another good one, right? Because Mantis heals Drax, but you have to deal damage to Mantis. Drax never really wants to go to Alter Ego, so if you get more activations, then you get to heal him more. And sidekick, or side by side, you get to ready, and Drax loves to attack. That's what he does. So you get to do that as well, and maybe even heal him more with Mantis. There's so many cool synergies out there with Psychic, so I really don't think that there was a competition with this one. So I love Psychic. I thought that was a lot of fun. Sparked a ton of old hero new tricks. Last, we're gonna be talking about protection. I would say Change of Fortune here, but I already mentioned that in the archetype section. So I'm gonna choose something different. That's gonna be a card that actually fuels the Change of Fortune archetype, and that's Come Get Me Bub. So Come Get Me Bub is a 0-cost card that you have to discard cards from the encounter deck until you get a minion. You get to heal 3 damage and give yourself a tough status card. So you get to, one, now have a minion. So if you are running that Change of Fortune build, you have something to take out. You have healing. You have a tough status card, so you're blocking probably that villain activation. You're putting the minion into play, so you can get around a lot of those nasty when revealed effects. And so I'm a huge fan of Come Get Me Bub, and as I play the game more, the more I realize that I very much enjoy Thor, and so anything that like gives Thor a lot of love, I'm very happy about. And so Thor just loves Come Get Me Bub. There's actually a lot of minion summoning stuff that we got this year, and so Thor loves all of it, and we'll talk about Thor here more in a second. But Come Get Me Bub gets that card, or gets that minion engaged, gets that card draw. Thor then does what he does with minions and just slays them. Finally, we're gonna move on to the basic card of the year, and this is gonna be a card that came to us in the Magneto Hero Pack. That's Face the Past. This is a card that I have not done as much as I want to with, and everything that I have done with, I have just absolutely loved. So Face the Past is 0-cost event, max 1 per deck. Search your encounter deck, discard pile. Basically, you go find your Nemesis minion and you reveal your Nemesis minion. Then you get to ready your hero. You draw 3 cards, and then you cannot attack the villain again for this phase, and then you remove the Face the Past from the game. Readying your hero, drawing 3 cards is so incredibly powerful, especially if your Nemesis minion is not the worst thing in the world. There are some where you just do not want to do this, right? Like, I'm probably not summoning Dark Phoenix with a Face the Past unless I'm trying to do something crazy, right? But like Thor, again, loves Face the Past. I had a Thor game where I used Face the Past, I think on turn 1. Now I'm drawing 5 cards, 3 from Face the Past, 2 from his ability of engaging a minion. You get Loki, and then you can just kind of kill Loki. I mean, he can be pesky, he can stick around, but for 5 cards, you can figure out how to deal with him. Alrighty, let's talk about some heroes cards. We're gonna talk about my favorite hero card and then my favorite hero, and that's gonna be the last two sections of the video. My favorite hero card is not from my favorite hero. That's gonna be Jubilee's Coat. So Jubilee's Coat is a 2-cost upgrade that gives Jubilee +1 fort, which is nice. Not always. I don't always utilize it though, because I use Jubilee to generate resources a lot using her hero ability. But the thing that I do love about it is that it has a response that says after you play a thwart event, you get to remove threat from a scheme equal to the number of different resource icons used to pay for that event. So now you get some really fun decisions to make, because it's awesome when you can maximize that threat removal. Say if you're playing like a 3-cost threat removal or a 3-cost thwart event, now if you use 3 different resources, you can remove 3 extra threat, making that event just an incredibly efficient play. Or if you don't need that, maybe you're looking at a For Justice and you have a genius in your hand, you can play For Justice, and now For Justice is effectively removing 5 threat. It's actually a little bit more flexible because it's 4 threat from something, and then that last from the Jubilee's Coat can be anywhere on the board. So it's a very flexible threat removal. It creates some like really interesting decision points, because do I want to remove a threat with this card, or do I want to play this card and instead use a resource or a card in my hand that has a resource that maybe I've already used to pay for the thwart event? And so it creates a lot of really interesting decision points, and it's also just like really strong. And so I run Shopping Spree. If I'm using Shopping Spree, I'm grabbing Jubilee's Coat. If it's not on the table, Superpower Training, definitely getting Jubilee's Coat. So good. Anyways, let's go on to the final category of the night. That is going to, of the night. I posted this at 8 a.m. in the morning. Of maybe your night. Who knows when you're watching this. That's going to be my favorite hero from 2024, and that's going to be Iceman. It battled it out between Iceman and Nightcrawler. I love both of them to death. Iceman, I think, is a little bit more unique than Nightcrawler, which I think kind of pushed him into that realm, and he's a little bit more of the debuffer rather than the protector. And if I had to create a subset of kind of a tank or protection, if we're just looking at like kind of archetypes, not necessarily in Marvel Champions, I love debuffers. I think that they're just so much fun to play and can be very annoying to play against. And Iceman is that hero, because Iceman has these frostbites where whenever he attacks or defends, you can attach a frostbite, and then a lot of his cards also do this, but the frostbite does -1 thwart, -1 attack for the attached enemy. And then whenever that enemy activates, you remove all the frostbites. It is just so much fun to try and figure that out. You can kind of really manage, and if you stun lock, you can keep a lot of those frostbites out. He has a lot of things that synergize with having frostbites out, whether that's his alter ego response to shuffle more ice cards back into your deck, or it could be something, or his attack event, which I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, basically does damage to everything with the frostbite attached to it. And so there's just a lot of really fun decisions to try and keep those frostbites out, but also utilize them for their effect of -1 thwart or -1 scheme or attack. And he just has so many like really interesting builds. He can go in protection, be always ready, and just throw them out there. Perfect defense works really well because he has his ice wall plus the frostbite, so like damage just doesn't seep through. Leadership, he's an X-Men, so that works out really well. He does like to flip down for that recursion, so Justice is awesome. And then he came with an aggression precon, and we have a lot of synergy in the aggression aspect for things that have upgrades attached to them now. Frostbite's an upgrade. And so there's just so many cool ways to play Iceman. I've played him a ton in multiplayer. I've played him a ton in solo, and I prefer him in multiplayer. I think that's where he kind of does thrive, but he can also be very successful in solo. And he's just one of the characters that, I guess, like whenever like they put out a new hero, a lot of the heroes are really interesting and really cool, and I'm looking forward to Maria Hill. She looks awesome. Iceman was the hero from this wave where when I saw what he did, I was like, that I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, that's just like a cool way to kind of manipulate the mechanics of the game to create something that's very unique. And that's Iceman, where he's debuffing, he's devaluing the activations and not relying necessarily on a status lock. I'm here for that. So let me know what you loved about this game in 2024 down in the comments. I appreciate you all watching. It does mean a lot. I'm so happy that you're all here. I'm so happy that we get to experience the joy of this game together. And until next time, we will see you around. Hope you have some fun playing some Marvel Champions or whatever you are playing this holiday season. Have a good one. Peace.